Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. Um, Another update on Masterson. Yep, that trial's like going. I don't even have a word to tell you. I'm keeping up the best that I can. I hope that you all will agree it can be quite overwhelming at times. The content alone, the subject matter, it's not something anyone wants to deal with on a daily basis, is it? Well, mm, it is necessary. It is definitely necessary. Now, today, Wednesday, we have a break in the trial. Actually, they recessed yesterday early. After the testimony was complete of Jane Doe 3. Yep, we're already through the second accuser. With the testimony. Judge Almeida is doing a fantastic job of keeping things on track, moving swiftly, and well, their stuff. Yeah, it's like a turbocharged dumpster fire. Perfectly stated, Aaron Reese. And welcome. Oh, I'm just gonna have to show that because it's glorious. Well stated. Me, wordsmith and all. I love it. The fact that she is keeping it moving. And she's really not playing. I do want to say one thing about Judge Almeida. I have covered other rape child, other non-consensual issues, other statute of limitations issues repeatedly. It's been something that legally is a hook for me. It'll draw me in. I have to say, this is the first time I have seen a judge that has compassion not only for the law, but the situation at hand. Totally. Her respect for the witnesses, her protection of them by law, her respect even of the defense and what should be allowed and not allowed as prejudicial needs to be applauded. Um, Her name needs to be recognized. Her skill, her dedication needs to be recognized because there's a lot going on in here. A lot. Um, You've heard the shenanigans I reported on just the fact that they didn't want to mention Scientology anymore after the first set of attorneys throw it in there like gunfire, like it was going to solve everything. We don't even have a trial here because, well, Scientology. Those lawyers leave, new lawyers come in, and it's like, whoop, what? Scientology? Oh no, that's prejudicial. Don't you mention that. Do not mention Scientology. Yeah. But it's very paramount to the case. It absolutely describes the state of mind of all three accusers because there is the statute of limitations, the exceptions that needed to be made to even bring this to trial by the DA's office, by the LAPD, and when they investigated. They did what they could for women who felt by their testimony that they weren't unable to speak about what happened to them based on their participation willingly in an organized religious belief of Scientology, and that they tried to follow the Scientology rules and regulations and were dismissed. Um, that's why we have a trial. They tried to send that to the Supreme Court, and they turned it away. Okay, Scientology did that. The lawyers and Scientology did that. But since they lost, they don't want you to speak on it. They don't want you to speak on it at all. It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. Well, let us go back to Friday a little bit because, we actually spoke on this last on Friday and the trial was still kind of just wrapping up and there wasn't a lot out there. As you know, it's a closed trial as far as cameras and us being able to actually watch it. Reporters are allowed in, select reporters, limited, and we are getting great reporting from Tony Ortega. Another account that's speaking on it very well is Chris Shelton. You may also hear from the other ex-Scientologists, like it's Aaron Smith. Everyone is actually taking note. It is out there. I do see some comments on Twitter that nobody's speaking about it enough. I see it being spoken on YouTube, but perhaps maybe not on Twitter enough because I noticed myself when trying to post anything in regards to this trial, I had a little like 50-second thing about, don't mention it's Scientology or whatever. And I tagged it Masterson and I tagged it Scientology, and Twitter blocked me. Yeah, how rude is that? Blocking a bear for talking the real deal. What the heck is that? Anyway, they said it was too sensitive. The name Scientology was too sensitive for Twitter. I don't know. There was some shenanigans going on that. I tried like 4 or 5 times the same day, and it kept getting it like sensitive content blocked, this, that. I didn't want to lose my Twitter account. So, yeah, I backed up. I said, okay, you can't have my short. I'll just put it on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram instead. And I did. But maybe that's why we don't see a lot on Twitter. I don't know. But just recently, Mocking Media dropped a mock flicks on Danny Masterson today, and we did tweet that, and Mocking tweeted that. And so far, I see that it's been visible, and I don't see a sensitive content flag on it yet. And while I'm speaking of it, let me just give you the link so y'all can check it out yourself, because it was. Listen, if you want to know a little bit about what's going on with Masterson, just read the description of this video and watch. Less than 2 minutes, and he's got it in a nutshell. With a bit of mock, he puts a bit of humor on it. Although it's not a very funny subject, but I give him good credit for making it palatable. Okay, and it's facts. You can't hide from it. The snark is there, but the description is lit. He kind of lays out. Actually, you can tell. Mocking, I got to applaud you. The research was superb. You had all the facts, and good job. At least when you're snarking the hell out of somebody, you know what the hell you're talking about. You got the facts. Like, they can't argue that. They can't argue that. They just get mad when you hit them with the truth. Too bad. It's the truth. Everything you said in that description was absolutely the truth. So there you go. I've also pinned a comment for those of you who are members. If you would take a moment to, if you're hearing this later on YouTube or you come in later into the chat, if you would take a moment to go to the community tab, to the members only post, and make sure that we do our votes. Okay. Some of you were members up until yesterday and have not voted yet. In that case, if you are unable to get to that community post, if you would please DM me, I will copy it and send it to you personally by Twitter or Instagram or however you like, because your vote still counts. You were part of the team, so to speak, for that quarter, and you get a voice into where the funding goes to. Okay. But back to the trial. Let's get back. Praise again to to Judge Almeida in how she's balancing things. And let's just talk about what has been going on and why she's had to balance things. Okay. You may have heard, I do believe we mentioned that there was going to be the lawyer that was going to testify, but there was a delay on that. He didn't, but Sean Fabos that we talked about last week did show up, and he is the son. He is a Scientologist. He was a friend of Jane Doe 1, a close friend of Jane Doe 1's, and he is the son of two of the major supporters, current major supporters, the Faboses of Scientology. They are all still active in Scientology right now. He's one of the only active Scientologists that is actually testifying. He's testifying for the prosecution. He was subpoenaed. Let's be clear. But before we get into his testimony, which let me just remind you what Jane Doe 1 said in her testimony about Sean Fabos. Okay, they were friends when the incident happened in 2003. He was one of the first people she spoke to outside of her family in regards to it. She did mention to him several of the key details of the incident. As you all know, we remember, she felt a little woozy and then was tossed into a jacuzzi and then woke up during some intercourse, some things going on in the second event that she was not very pleased with. And left very upset. She claimed to be choked. She did have a panic attack on the witness stand. She does have a support witness with her. Judge Almeida was very good about having the jury leave, about having the time given to these witnesses who are recanting terrible experiences, their recollection of terrible experiences to the jury. She's allowing enough time. She's also allowing the defense the time to counter in a reasonable way. She does allow direct questions in regards to the events themselves. That can be very upsetting for a witness, but in the end, both the prosecution and the defense have been able to mention the words, the body parts, the actual incidences in clear labeled language, so there's no misunderstanding. And that's been really good, for the understanding of the jury, at least, as far as where lines were crossed, where they weren't, when was there actual consent, when wasn't there. These are really important as far as I'm looking at it as an outsider into what I want to see if I was on the jury. Because all of these women knew Danny Masterson, one of them was in a long-term relationship. It's important to know what was permissible, when things changed, because sex was happening. Okay, sex was happening. All right. Jane Doe 1 had retold, rather not recanted, but retold her recollection of an incident prior to where there was sort of consent. She was drunk. She felt like she didn't give complete consent, but she wasn't going to say she didn't for vaginal sex to happen. She said she was like giddy and thought it was strange, and it wasn't actually something that she was going for. But she couldn't really say that she had said no. Matter of fact, she said clearly she did not say no. However, when dragged to the bottom of the bed, flipped over, and then other things were actually attempted, that's when she did say no and kicked him away, and he did leave. He did stop. And then the second incident happened where he did not, where she woke up from sleep and was being penetrated against her will. Fought back, suffocated with a pillow, passed out again, woke up, fought back again, choked. This is the story which has the gun in it, which I'm only mentioning just because it comes up in Fabos's testimony. I'm only refreshing because of Fabos's testimony, because this is going to be important, okay? They also talked about bruising that she had, about leaving after that second incident to be with her family in Florida for her grandfather's celebration, and that her cousin was there, Rachel, who also, during the testimony that we're going to talk about here on day 9, was brought up. So Sean Fabos is going to take the stand. Well, Tony Ortega had reported on Friday that an incident happened on Thursday that was rather peculiar. And this is going to take place. I'm going to mention it to you because this went back and forth in the court quite a bit here. And kind of shines a light on Sean Fabos' testimony. As I said, he's the only active Scientologist currently that's testified. And he's testifying for the prosecution under subpoena. He didn't willingly come forward. Okay. So, Thursday, Sean is witnessed speaking to the private investigator, a female from Masterson's team. Masterson's, they're not trying to hide it. The investigator has confirmed she walked up to Sean Fabos, started talking to him, said, "Did you ever take a trip to Florida? Do you recall that trip?" Sean Fabos is claiming that he was now in Florida in 2003 when Jane Doe 1 went to that family celebration, and that he was there with her and Rachel, the cousin, saw them. He was there watching one of the relatives' daughter, that he was there with the family, but he says he really didn't see them that often. Okay. Both Jane Doe 1 and Rachel have testified that no, he wasn't. He had been at many other events in Florida with the family. They were very good friends, and he did attend many things, but he wasn't at that one. Jane Doe 1's testimony clearly states that the next day that she got back from Florida, she told Sean Fabos what happened with Masterson in 2003, the second incident, retold it to him, specifics of it, at a coffee shop the very next day, into which he cannot remember whether they talked about Florida or not, although she recalls telling him she just got back from Florida. Now, very interestingly enough, this immediate remembrance of Sean Fabos, all of a sudden the recall is kind of striking, because all during his testimony, as you'll see in reporting from Deadline that I copied from Tony Ortega, all during his testimony, he needed to be brought a transcript of the phone call that he had in 2017 with Jane Doe 1, where she is reminding him about the 2003 meeting that they had and telling him and how he felt. Okay, and talking to him about what they talked about and stuff. Now, that conversation that she had with him was actually recorded under the instructions of the LAPD, because at this point they are in investigation of Danny Masterson and this events, and that was something that they asked her to do, is to get recordings of people that recall that you spoke with them, or at least to get their recollection free from their mouths of what they recall that you said. And so she did. And during that, he recalls the coffee shop. He recalls the talkie. He recalls how mad he got. He threatened Danny's life. He said he was going to kill him if he got a hold of him. He had never met Masterson at that point, but he was so upset for his friend about what she was saying happened to her that he was livid. Understandably so. It's your friend. You're telling him, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So he's upset, this, that, and the other thing. Never does it come up in 2017 that he was in Florida either. Okay. And he can't remember, while testifying now back in he can remember being in Florida instantly on Thursday with the word, "Did you take a trip?" from an investigator. He can remember the whole thing about being in Florida all of a sudden after being interviewed multiple times by the prosecution. Never once mentioned Florida. Never once. Okay. But all of a sudden he can remember it on the stand after being prompted once by a private investigator. However, he can't remember the conversation he had about the incident with his good friend, who he was ready to kill Masterson, okay, because of what he did. He was ready to punch his lights out. He was going to take care of him. He acted like a friend, okay, but he doesn't recall these conversations that he recalled in 2017 on the phone, and he needs to see the transcripts from the prosecutors to recall what was said and what he remembered. Back and forth. And even after reading it, he would say, like, I don't really recall that. My memory is not refreshed. In the end, he is testifying that he was definitely there and that he never saw bruising or anything on Jane Doe 1 at the time in Florida. Now, this is important because Karen Goldstein for the defense kind of hinted that he did on Friday. She mentioned it. So why all of a sudden are they going out of their way to make the point that, oh no, he didn't see anything? It's a little strange. I'm not saying there's anything there. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have to say how legally this actually does pertain or what it actually means. I'm just speculating here, and I admit it, because I can, because it just looks damn fishy to me. It really does. And I'm a layperson, and I think everybody on that jury is too. And I think all of their heads are cocked like little beagles right now going, huh? What? What was that? Did you just? Okay, Judge Almeida, to her benefit, she made Sean Fabos, after this declaration that he was in Florida, a hostile witness. Now, hostile witness doesn't mean like you don't believe anything he says. That's not true. I mean, maybe it the words kind of make you think like, whoa. But really all it means is that the prosecution now could ask leading questions, more precise. Like she could actually ask, are you sure? I mean, Mueller, he could actually ask, are you sure you were in Florida in 2003? He could clearly ask, are you stating that after speaking with the investigator, you now recall that you were in Florida in 2003? And yet you were in my office this week and never said a word? We went over all your testimony and you never brought that up. You just remembered it now on Thursday when they asked you. And he's like, yep, that's what he said. So Mueller is treating him like a hostile witness. They allowed the questioning back and forth, okay, mostly about whether he was there. And really, it just seemed to be about getting the bruise statement in. Because the next witness that comes up is Rachel, is Jane Doe one's cousin, who was on the trip with her, who she also told the story, who was much younger than Jane Doe one at the time. I believe she said she was young. She was younger. She's like 17. And she didn't want to tell her the glory details, but she did tell her kind of like exactly what happened. And she's saying she did see bruises. And she is the one who took the pictures that they're showing that have the bruises in it. And yes, Jane Doe 1 is in a bikini, and you can see faint bruising. And Rachel clearly states that the bruising in person was much darker, that the camera is not picking it up efficiently. Okay. And there was much going back about this testimony about whether Sean Fabos was there. And Rachel declared under oath that he absolutely was not, that he had been at many of their family affairs, but at this one for the grandfather, no, he was not. He was not there. And that she spent a lot of time with Rachel and the family. She was throughout there the whole time. They were all there for many days, and he was not at all. Not one day, not two, not three, not any. Never saw him. She's challenging him. So is Jane Doe's one's prior testimonies, statements throughout the years that she has made to the investigators, to everyone. It's all challenging what he's recalling right now. So it's up for speculation. I think we're allowed to look at it and go, well, I guess we're going to see how this finds out. Because, I mean, he must have took a flight, right? You got an air ticket? You got some proof there, dude? Like, I don't usually ask to see airline tickets and room receipts, but in this case, you know, your immediate recall would definitely want me to actually see kind of stuff like that if I'm going to believe you. Sorry. Yeah. No, actually, sorry, not sorry. I'm not sorry about that at all. Like, I need to see more. I have great doubt. But I know Jujubee. Is he a double agent? I don't know. He was her friend, but he admits now to not being her friend. Okay. And also during the testimony, we found out that Rachel and Sean became friends after he started to back away from Jane Doe 1. Okay. But he also backed away from Rachel at one point too. Like, they were friends without being around Jane Doe. First, they were all friends together, and then Jane Doe 1 kind of backed away, you know, after this stuff. And after, you know, what she was going through with Scientology at the time. You know, remember, she's trying to report and everything like that. So she's going through auditing. She's going through like all of this stuff with them. So she's been, you know, not as present around. And Rachel and he become friends, and they were friends for quite a while until the investigation started. And they were going to meet and talk about it. And they had plans to do it. But then, whoops, something happened. And Sean just disappeared. He's ghosting her. He just kind of ghosting her. And now he's just like, he's not allowed to be around her. She's not a Scientologist. Like, it's like bad for him, you know. So yeah, there's that. Talk about how they don't interfere, huh? I mean, they don't interfere at all, right? Well, I don't know. I think it's a little sus. I don't want to go over the line here and accuse them of anything, but let's just let the, okay. This is Sean. For those of you that aren't aware, that's Danny. Well, this is Sean in the t-shirt, in the Adidas t-shirt, and this is his parents, the Scientology contributors. Okay, this was actually the picture of them in costume is for the most recent, I guess it's less than like 5 weeks old, promotion or some kind of gala that they had to raise money with Scientology. Very active, whatever. He has a production studio, okay, in Los Angeles, and he's still very, very active. I mean, very active. Admits to not actually knowing Danny Masterson until recently, actually, not having any contact or anything. So he says, okay. I'm not sure if this is, I believe that this is Jane Doe 1. These are the drawings of Mona Schaefer-Edwards, who is doing them for the trial to try to keep some anonymity. It could be Rachel, though, too. It did not say in the caption, but it is showing the cross. A lot of times with the women, they're using Karen Goldstein and Cohen. They're both there. For the prosecution side, they have D.A. Mueller and also the Deputy Assistant Anson. Okay, going on. Okay. What I want to show you here I believe this is Rachel actually, because they said she was very animated in her at times with her testimony. Um, and I believe that that could be her there. Okay, but what I want you to notice the posturing of that is the defendant Danny Masterson behind there. There are comments in multiple articles that I'm reading online. I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I'm reading the articles and they're saying that his demeanor in the court is quite relaxed, legs crossed, flipping of the foot, leaning back, no agitation whatsoever. He looks very comfortable. Yeah, Jujubee, this is why I'm bringing it up. It just struck me. Again, maybe I'm getting a little biased here, but a little attitude, but yeah. Uh-huh. That looks a little. Oh, and it gets worse. Okay. And hello, Sarb. Scientologists will commit perjury. They only respect their own justice system. I don't want to believe they'll break the law willingly, but I will say they do have their own justice system, and they do not have the respect one might think for other authoritative entities. Yeah, let's put it that way. But I'm going to say you're pretty spot on about that. I'm not sure. I'm not going to accuse Sean Fabos of committing perjury yet. It's a big hit because like come on, you have to admit it looks very sus. I don't see anyone saying it doesn't. Okay, I don't see anyone saying it doesn't. They wanted to focus in on the pictures and the bruising. Okay, and here's where it happened with Rachel in the conversation with Rachel on there, and they get up and they're actually talking about the photographs, and they're saying that she's the one who took the photographs. How did you get involved with the investigation? Well, she had never turned over anything until she was asked to, and she didn't really talk about this with Jane Doe 1 very much until the investigation started full force in 2017 again. Okay, so she went to get the photographs that she had put away, and the two with the bruising that she were missing. And so she went and reprinted them from negatives. Now, she went through all the photos. She was asked for pictures of bruising, and she only found two that showed bruising. When Karen Goldstein crossed Rachel, she kept referring to comments that Jane Doe 1 would have made about how shocking the bruisings were and how, vivid they were. And yet, if you go back to the testimony clearly in all the statements from Jane Doe 1, no, she said she was shocked she had bruises. She never said the bruises were shocking. I'm speaking on this because this just goes to show you how the prosecution can look at something one way and the defense can look at something another way, because they were really honing in on this. That did you find any pictures of shocking bruises that couldn't be shown because they would make her parents so upset? Jane Doe did say that if her parents saw her bruising, it would upset them, and she didn't want to shock them or try to make up excuses as to how they happened. She didn't want to lie to her parents, nor did she want to tell them the truth about how she got them. She did not claim them to be shocking that I saw. I mean, I'm still looking, but I haven't seen anything yet. Okay. I don't know. But anyway, the shocking part of it is that they keep honing in on a word that she's not even claiming to say. And Rachel keeps pushing back, saying, no, I never heard her say that. No, I don't recall that's what she said to me. I don't recall that word being used, she finally said. I don't recall that word being used. She says she went back and she was asked to look for pictures that would say of her state that she was in. And she was in a bikini. You could see the bruise on her arm. You could see another bruise above her hip. So she brought them those two photos. She's now testifying under oath that when you actually saw Jane Doe 1, you could see the bruising was much, much darker. The pictures do not depict it exactly the way it is. That's her testimony. Sean Fabos is saying he never saw a bruise on her at all. Maybe because he wasn't in Florida to see it, her in that bikini. Just saying. Yeah, I know. Crossing the line a little bit there, but I digress. I must. I cannot hold this back too much. Okay. All right. All right. So let us move on now from that. As if that's not enough. Now we have like what's going on with witnesses. Why aren't witnesses being believed? Okay. All right. They're going back and forth and back and forth. And at the end of day 9 with Rachel, okay. All right. Statement from day. Judge Almeida says, okay, we're going to take a break for the day. Okay. And Almeida says, Mr. Cohen, as to Mr. Fabos' testimony, both sides are in agreement, a stipulation, and we will read it again tomorrow. The fence put on record a mayoral campaign, the negative ads during voir dire, but the court is aware there are a number of Scientology ads airing on mainstream TV. Scientology is putting out ads as a positive nature. So there have been ads that are on both negative and positive. So we're not going to do anything on that. Because I do want to note again that during trial number 9, trial day number 9, yeah, the defense, you know what they did? Guess what they did? Guess what they did all last week? And guess what they started this week with? Yes, a mistrial. Motion for mistrial. Yep. Because of the ads, because of all this stuff, because of this, the pictures. I don't know. It's getting really crazy. In the beginning of Jane Doe 3's testimony, okay, they start with how they met. Okay, she was a model. She was just 18. She met through mutual friends. She got a Revlon contract and was at a party. Cindy Crawford was one of the models that was having the party for her and was bringing all the other models there. Danny Masterson was there. Somehow or another, she's living with 3 other women in a residence, and they're going to have a party also in celebration of this. And Masterson, either by her or one of the other girls, after introducing himself, is invited back. I will note that when he introduced himself to her, the first thing he said is, "I have a crush on you." And the second thing that she said is, "That made me nervous." I don't know. His game, it needs some work. But anyway, she doesn't recall feeling that great about it. They go to the party. He comes to the party that they have at their house, and he asks her on a date. For some reason, the next day, when he comes to pick her up for the date, she makes him wait 2 hours because she's locked in a bedroom saying she feels really nervous. She doesn't know if she really wants to go out with him. She kind of felt like, yeah. I'm telling you. I don't know why they're now saying like that kind of stuff, but the defense did object because he did go on longer about, how they met and this and that. And Judge Almeida did kind of infer and said, listen, she said, yo, Mueller, they were in a 6-year-long relationship. I'm not starting at day 1. Like, basically, I'm paraphrasing here, by the way, because we don't have transcript. So like, we're not starting at day 1. We're not going to take the court's time to go over our 6-year relationship. We're going to get to right when it went south. Okay, so when he comes back, Mueller says, well, wait a minute. Defense kind of made an argument that like this witness was a freeloader. So I want to show that, she was in a committed relationship. They were going along, how it started, whatever. And Almeida like brings it back. She goes, no, you can do, if they bring that up on cross, if they talk about it, I'm going to give you room to redirect. I'm going to give you the opportunity to go back at them. And I certainly understand the need that you got to provide background. But for her reaction to what had happened. But I'm going to ask you to be more direct and speed it up on the timeline here. I will give you some leeway about Scientology in regards to being declared, because what came up was that she was not a Scientologist when they met. And within a year of their relationship, when they're going to be getting serious, he was requiring her to start attending the church and start attending auditing or courses, doing the work, that they could not progress in their relationship. They could not stay because she would be considered outside of it and he would not be allowed to associate with her. Okay. That the time had come. So she did concede. She wanted to. She says in the beginning of the relationship, she was quite happy. They lived in a home with his little brother, little sister, and another brother who was like 16. Their mother was off in Scientology doing auditing. She wasn't around a lot. They eventually got a home of their own. And at that point, Danny asked her to not be a model, like not so much with the modeling anymore. He wanted her to be home. And at this point, she was involved with Scientology. She understand the teachings that he was telling her, that this is just how it is. It is part of the teachings of Scientology, which I'm not going to go into great detail here because, well, I want to keep my blood pressure down. I don't want to get a headache, and I don't want to bore you. It's all out there. Y'all know. Y'all know. Okay. Their teachings on this may not be exactly in line with how I feel as a woman in 2022. Okay, so anyway, they she agreed though, because she says, quote unquote, I'm from Alabama, that's how I was raised, this is the common teachings, I understand it, I respect it, this is how it's going to be. She stayed home. That's the way it is. Everything was fine until we're going to get to this event here. She says she started to think of him a little differently when she noticed how he was treating her if she challenged him, and others um, outside their relationship. She talks about going to dinner with friends one night, and you know they are leaving, and they're walking on the sidewalk, and there's a couple in front of them, and they had just been married and everything, and he starts speaking about the woman's body parts in a real derogative way. Now, the woman's with her husband. Okay. He's there. He just gets really nasty. He's being offensive. He's being rude. And at first she says, I didn't bother me because I've heard him talk like that before. I've heard these things said. But the way he wouldn't stop, okay, and the way he just kept mocking her and going after her and this and that, even though she was with someone, was really distasteful. Well, to no one's surprise, of course, the husband turns around and starts beating the heck out of Danny Masterson. Okay. Everyone in the party gets a little bit upset, and Jane Doe 3 decides that she's leaving with her friend. She wants no part of this. She's a little upset. He's getting beat up. She kind of agrees because she's mad at what he was saying about another woman right in front of her like that, and being so disgusting, she said, about it, that she got mad. She got really angry, and she left him while he's getting beat up, whatever. There, she just left with her friend. They went to go get something to eat, and then she went home, and she met him back at the house. He was there, and of course he was very, very upset that she abandoned him there, and they had a fight. And she says this is when their relationship started to get really tense, and this is before the first 2001 incident that happened, when he started to get aggressive. Okay. And the fourth, okay, this is the first. This is when she says they started to get tense. Things started to get tense with them. She's starting to say their relationship is not what it was. She's starting to look at him a little differently. That perhaps he needs to go into Scientology a little more and get his auditings and get his things, because he is a celebrity Scientologist. And they have, from what I understand and what's being said in the testimony, there are some separate rules for them. They don't have to have the extreme auditing and reporting that everyone else does. They have a little more leeway. And of course, from all the parties that Danny's doing and all the stuff that he's doing, you can see that he gets a little more leeway. Okay. Judge Almeida had said that if they brought it up in cross, they could go there. She was going to allow leeway about Scientology being declared, about going into the relationship and becoming a Scientologist. And she was going to give the prosecution leeway. But her disconnecting from her parents and taking courses is getting too much into that now, because every time they mentioned what she did on a daily basis, if it came to like going to do courses, or she had to do this or she had to do that, anything in regards to the process of Scientology, the defense would object. And like Judge Almeida has drawn a pretty fair line with everyone. Okay. All right. As far as what can be mentioned or not. If it's about why they did a certain thing a certain way, great. But to go into the history of her relationship for 6 years with Scientology and Danny, it really wasn't necessary. But at this point, the defense, Cohen, gets up and he's all upset because they said that he that that they mentioned Jane Doe 3 being referred to as a freeloader, which was in other hearings and other testimonies prior to Cohen becoming the actual attorney. And he gets up and he says, listen, the whole mention of Jane Doe 3 was in the opening statement. I never said freeloader. That never came out of my mouth. For the people to continue to conflate that is like some other lawyer said it at some other proceeding and blah, blah, blah. And Almeida goes, yo, I don't think he meant you. He is allowed to like say it. I want you both to remain tightly on the matter at hand and cut the crap. And Cohen's going, but this is the trial. This is the trial. And she's like, nope, I want you to remain on what is hand. And he said that he is allowed to like put testimony that they had an actual relationship and she was contributory. That's not a fact. I mean, that doesn't, he's just not going to take a long time to talk about it. Okay. All right. So all of that discussion happened with Jane Doe out of the room. Like she didn't have that discussion with them while the jury or Jane Doe was in, and she brought everybody back. Okay. And that's when they start talking about the changes. Okay. That happened. That is when she said that she woke up the first time where he was having sex with her while she was asleep. And she was not very happy about it. And she pushed him off, and he was not very thrilled about it. He called her white trash and kind of spit at her. This was not pleasant for her. She said it's also not the first time that something like that happened. She had refused him prior, a couple weeks before. She wasn't in the mood. She was tired. She said no. He literally dragged her by her hair out off the bed and threw her out of the room naked into the hallway in front of everyone and shut the bedroom door. She doesn't like the word no, apparently. She said that was the first time he had ever physically did anything to her that was aggressive in that nature. Had he got mad and used language that she found to be aggressive and derogatory? Yeah, she says that. But he'd never been physical. He didn't abuse her. He didn't hit her. She admitted that, things were fine before that. Although things were getting tense because she was saying his attitude about other people and his anger needed to be addressed with Scientology, and he wasn't really like for it. Okay. That is when the actual event then happened afterwards that she was so upset about. The one with he's being charged for, on the second one is they went to a restaurant with friends. She had a couple of glasses of wine. She had gone to the bathroom, whatever. She gets up from the table, and it's the last thing she remembers until the next morning, waking up in pain, bleeding from her rectum. Danny's nowhere around. She feels that something might have been in her drink, something happened, whatever. But the problem is that she's testifying that when she spoke to Danny, she said, my gosh, what happened? I don't know. And he said, well, did I hurt you? And she was like, what did, I don't remember, anything. I was unconscious. And, she said, like, I'm hurt, I'm injured. He said, oh, yeah. She said, well, did we have sex? He said, yes. She said, was I unconscious? And he said, yes. She said, he said, I had anal sex with you last night. And he's laughing. And she says, but was I awake? He goes, no, you were unconscious the whole time. And he's laughing. She's testifying that he's laughing about it. She said then she knew that like he just definitely, there was no regard there, and that no matter how much she cared about him, they weren't in love. They have not been in love. She knew. But this is serious. And that's when the relationship is now going to definitely fall apart. That was her testimony. That was very, very disturbing to me. Hey, he's got issues from what they're saying. But the fact that he actually laughs about it is, I don't think he's laughing now in court. All right. This is the drawing of Jane Doe 3. Jane Doe 3 had difficulty recanting several of the incidences, parts of the incidents, as you can sympathize with, and as Judge Almeida, as I said, has been sympathizing with. They do give them time. They have support people with them. She does, if she sees that they're getting emotional, she asks them. She asked Jane Doe that there several times, do you need a break? Do you want a break for a continue, to bring the jury out and give her time to recollect herself. But she tried to push through. She did take a break a few times. But it's got to be hard to sit there and say it. And he's looking at you the whole time. But I also want to say that it's been noted in several of the articles and by Tony Ortega and others who are in the courtroom that while she's being emotional on the stand, the judge is even getting to like very intently listening to everything. This is the posture that's being reported by the court drawer, by this Mona Schaefer Edwards, who is doing these court drawings and putting them out. Deadline had them out. A couple of other people had them out. Mm-hmm. And he looks kind of calm and non-flux. They do say he does look back to his wife several times, and they exchange glances and nods and things. And he does have support there, different people on different days, mostly his brothers and sisters and several Scientologist friends that are active in there. But he looks so calm. He just looks so damn calm to me. And I don't know why, but that makes me very uncalm. Okay. Let's look for questions. And you can ask me anything. I'll tell you up until the reporting. I don't have any reporting from today that they were back. Uh, Shill, I'm wondering, do you mean today? Because I thought they were not in court today. That's the thing. But if they were, I'm sure we'll have something. Mucking, this is interesting. In May of 21, he posted selfies before the initial hearing. Had the most beautiful Uber driver drop me off at school today. Captioned, Uber wife, Bijou Phillips. He also geotagged the picture courthouse. Yep. I remember that. Like it was easy. Okay. I get you. I understand, T. King, all of this stuff about this mistrial for every little thing. First of all, because the mayor is running some ad and it mentions Scientology, as if all the cross posting by Scientology positive doesn't have any weight. I don't get it. But I really did appreciate that Almeida just smacked that back. Nope. There's enough out there positive about Scientology to outweigh that. And it's not part of this trial. But since you mentioned it, I got to bring it up, and now I got to order on it. And I'm saying, nope, denied. And she does. She addresses it at the end of every one. I have a feeling that at the end of every day, they'll be going for a mistrial. But it is just too much. But what really disturbed me is I hadn't heard that event about him addressing the other woman and how their relationship started to change because of his treatment of other people, and that she was starting to think he had a problem. He does appear to be quite arrogant. Okay. Hey Ox, how are you? And Juju, I'm glad you're here. I'll tell you. Okay. What kind of a person chooses a vulgar DJ named Donkey Punch? I get it. And do you know that is actually one of the things that they're not allowed to talk about in the trial? I think I spoke about this in a short a while back. Although we can mention Scientology, one of the things that the defense did not want brought up at all was the name that he chose as his DJ, saying that it would be so prejudicial to the jury. And the judge said, well, it doesn't really pertain since nothing happened while he was the DJ. And also she did allow that they don't bring it up, because they would just bring it up because of the name, because they would say just the same as we are now. That's kind of gross, Danny. Kind of gross, really. I know, Ox, and that's not only just back in the day. I don't know if it's a thing here, but I would say everybody in the chat would agree. You just don't do that. Is just not acceptable, behavior in public, anywhere, by anyone. I don't care who Danny Masterson thinks he is or what he has about however that woman looked, but he had no business running it, especially with people around. I mean, even if she didn't have her husband or anybody around, or wasn't part of wasn't part of a coupling, and didn't have a quote unquote old man, with her, a husband. Bullshit. Even if she was on her own, the nerve, and how disrespectful to the women in your party that you're with. Does that speak loudly of who we're talking about here? What kind of person we're talking about here? Okay. But to finish Ox's comment, back in the day, LOL, people didn't run their mouths about someone's old lady because they knew an ass whooping or broken jaw would be the results. But not today. Everyone's scared. No, I'm not scared. Nope. I'm up here running my mouth about that's wrong, Danny. That was wrong, and I don't blame your partner for being offended, and I don't blame your partner for leaving you there to get your ass whooped because that's what you needed. And apparently you didn't learn. It's everybody else's fault, Hey, Jasper, welcome. I find it ironic that a person plays a bad boy on a TV show, that 70 shows, to only end up going to jail when older for being a bad boy. Gets what he deserves. Well, we'll have to see about that, because this is not, they can't really talk about it in the trial. We could talk about it here, though, that this is not his first trial, and that he did actually get a not guilty in his first one with his female attorney, based on time and this and that. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. He was able to persuade them in the crosses that it was consensual. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know about jail. Let me just talk about jail for the thing right here. You would think for any rape conviction that you would get jail. Well, because of the way these were brought forward as three of them together, because that is what they needed to do based on the time frame that elapsed, based on the extenuating circumstances of the interference of the alleged interference of Scientology and how they were delayed in reporting the crime. Okay, the crimes that they're claiming. Okay, they brought them together, all three. That is how the district attorney, who believed all three women, believed there was good cases here. He had to bring them all three together, and he needs 2 out of 3 for Danny to get jail time. They have to believe 2 out of 3 victims here. That is what I have read. I'm looking for more legal expertise on that. So if anybody knows anyone that I can speak to directly about it, I'd appreciate it more. I am digging through the books in LA right now to try to figure out how that could be possible. I mean, one alone, if they brought it to trial, should do it, but we'll have to see. Also, because it's a 3-strike rule, if he gets all 3, it's a guarantee that he's going to have some problems. They said if he gets all 3, he's guaranteed 45 years. And to most, that's life. Okay. That's a problem. Okay. Are you looking for? Juju B states, I wonder what his wife thinks, if any, of this testimony is striking a nerve with her. By all accounts that I'm reading from Tony Ortega, Chris Shelton, Deadline mostly, Reuters, even the Posts, she has been calm and supportive. She shows up every day, if not with him, soon after. Just like a lot of his support system. He always has at least 3 or 4 people there for him, some arriving at different times. But yeah, she's calm and supportive. And like Mocking said, all through the trial, they were transporting back and forth. There's pictures of them being supportive. She walks in with him into the courthouse. Even when on one of the pretrial motion days, she actually walked in with him. Actually, he walked in alone and she joined later. Actually, I saw he walked in because there's a lot of photos of him by himself. And then there's photos of her with him right after that. So I believe they like met up. But yeah, by all accounts, being very supportive. She is also a Scientologist. I'm not sure of his immediate standing within. Yeah, I get it. I do. Mocking says, yep, she have to be, or she'd be SP. I get it because, they may be, I don't want to say definitely, I'm not a Scientologist, but they may be receiving pressure on all ends on supporting on this, because whether they want to believe it or not, This trial is bigger than just Danny Masterson. Their name is associated with it because they put it there. They took it to the Supreme Court. They entered their book of ethics. Okay, they put it there. Let's be clear. Okay. Danny Masterson didn't stand up and do it. The prosecution didn't exactly do it at first either. Okay. They put it there. They are actually going to be mentioned. There's no way not to mention it. They are the reason for the delay as far as what the accusers are stating, as to the reason for the delay in reporting, the reason nobody went for Danny Masterson. They're even saying Jane Doe 3 in her testimony said that when she reported the incidents, which I'm going to take a few more minutes. We're going to go a couple more minutes late here because there's more on Jane Doe 3. To me, that was quite striking. She went to her, to report this incident after he laughed at her. The next day, she stayed away from him for like a day or so. They didn't talk about it. And then she finally told him, I'm going to Scientology, to ethics, to report this. And he told her, fine, go ahead. Do what you got to do. Like, he was calm about it. So she did go. And she spoke with Miranda Scogans, who was her person at the time that she needed to speak to. And two things about that, well, more than two things about that really struck me. First, she gave the recounting of the incident to her, about it being a violation, about being injured, not being able to sit, being so damn uncomfortable, about not having permission, about being asleep or perhaps drugged, because she has no other recollection of anything, and says that she was raped. And Miranda Scogans tells her she can't use that word. She can't use that word. That's number one. You were in a relationship with him. It can't be rape if you were in a relationship. I found that to be extremely narrow-minded and offensive, and I'm sure most of you do too. I don't know what word are you supposed to use. Violated? Denigrated? I don't know. What word are you supposed to use? You're in a relationship. No is no. Whenever you say it. She didn't even get the opportunity to agree. Because one of the things with Scientology is, why aren't they addressing the fact that she could have been drugged against her will? Why isn't that coming on? Anyway, she says it can't happen. And here's the part that really gets to me. Because Jane Doe 3 really believed in the teachings at this time. She was a part of this organization, willingly wanted to work things out, wanted Danny to come in and get help, because she really thought that this organization could help her. Well, she was told that she wanted to commit, as she has been trained and as she's been educated in the process, that she should do an ethics report. Well, she's told, you can't do an ethics report on Danny. You have to do a things that shouldn't be report. Don't you just love the name? Forgive me. There's a report in Scientology that gets put in people's files, and it's called Things That Shouldn't Be. And it includes things like rape. Yeah. Things that shouldn't be. But we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to address it. We're not going to let you talk about it. It shouldn't be. But shh. Hey. Nothing to see here. Like, bullshit. That flipped me. I don't know about you guys, but that did it for me right there. That did it. I used to think, everybody wants to go with Scientology, right? Everybody just has a go on it. It's easy to, right? They're just so out there. You make fun of them, this, that, and the other thing. Everybody wants to say how wrong they are. I ain't going to mess with it, because you know what? They're getting too much as it is. I've changed my mind. That folder, that report title changed my mind. Everybody out there that has any inkling at all to speak on Scientology in any way that you want, you better go for it. You better go for it now, because it needs to be done. It needs to be done. When they say don't talk about Scientology, I say we're not talking about it enough. Enough of the fear. Enough of this, like, they got a big hammer, they're going to squash us down. Oh, you don't know what they'll do to you. You know why? Because nobody's talking about it. Everybody starts talking about it. Everybody gets together and goes, oh, well, hey, you did it. We're going to say it. What are they going to do? Really? That is so ludicrous, that file. Okay, and basically she did do that report back to Jane Doe 3. I'm sorry that she had to do that, but she has to just fill out a report that says things that shouldn't be. Okay, my rape, what happened to me, is a thing that shouldn't be. That's where she's at. And she diligently filled it out. And it did get put in Danny's file. And she's told if he ever comes in for auditing or a problem, it'll be addressed. If, to this day, Danny has not had to address that with Scientology, according to what they're saying. I don't know for sure because I'm not there. And they ain't going to tell me anyway. But I'm going to keep digging. But to this day, he has not had to sit down for the auditing on any of these charges that the women made against him. Two Scientologists under the reporting process that is there for Scientology, for their members. He's never had the answer for it. And now they're bitching that he has the answer for it in public court. Maybe if they'd cleaned up their own house, their reputation wouldn't be on the block right now with this, Maybe had they done something about it, actually a little respect for the people that came forward, just a little, instead of telling them it's their problem. You must have done something wrong for this to happen to you, because Jane Doe 3 now has to go through all types of things to get back why it would have happened to her and what she did that brought it forward, this terrible thing. Same thing with Jane Doe 1, same thing with Jane Doe 2. She also went to the chaplain, who was Miranda's husband. I believe his name is Chris. Is it Chris Scoggins? Yes, Chris Scoggins. Scoggins or Scaggins. Okay, he's the chaplain. And this was done after her ethics review was done. Okay, and the report gets filed, things that shouldn't be. But again, Danny never gets an audit. And what struck me in the reporting of Tony Ortega the other day is that he mentions through his digging that Danny Masterson, as a Scientologist, has never been cleared. That he's a celebrity Scientologist, and that's not important. I thought being cleared for a member of Scientology was a really important thing. But apparently they got two sets of rules, and that's why these kind of things keep happening. And maybe that's why they're getting such a horrible reputation out there. Yeah. Maybe that's why they want their name not mentioned in a trial, which definitely they have a lot to do with, because it does look bad for them. Their own proceedings and actions. But they did it. They need to answer for it. Okay. Oh, so yesterday they did have an early dismissal. And then as far as I heard from reporting, there was no trial today, but we're going to pick up tomorrow. And then, of course, I will be giving you a review again on Friday at the same time, 4 o'clock. We'll be starting. And we'll go over whatever testimony is done for Thursday and Friday at that time, or whatever new things come forward from the previous days, like we did review for Friday, because we only had some of the information in going forth with the rest of the witnesses. If you have questions, I will try to find the answers for them. You can contact me, put it on the back of the video on the stream in the comments section. You can contact me by DM, either in Twitter and Instagram. All of that information is on my about section at all times. So, just reach out, because I want you guys to understand it the best that you can. Also, I got lots of questions, I'll tell you, about what's going on. And for the privacy of the Jane Does, because they're Jane Does, I understand why the cameras are not allowed in the courtroom. But I really want to see, transcripts and testimony. Like, I really want to see this. Like, we're getting pretty good details. Thank goodness Tony Ortega is in there, and he's doing the best he can to paraphrase what's going on between the two attorneys, which is the part that I have to admit I do enjoy attorney banter, when the defense and the prosecution are going back and forth, and they're both looking at something to say, that there was, like, an incident, and one's using it one way and one's using the other, like they did with the photographs. Okay, like they're doing with the Florida trip. Yeah, definitely going back and forth with all of that. Okay, they both want to use it in a different way. Judge Almeida's doing her best to just draw it like right down the middle, and I got to give her credit for that. They will. And Jane, I agree, Mocking. I'm going to take your comment first, and then I'm going to go back up. Mocking says the sad thing is their names will get out on their websites they create to trash people and their reputations. Yeah, Scientology, I heard, was already doing that. Because it was Danny Masterson himself who released Jane Doe 3's name way back, which is why she allows her name to be said, although I chose not to say it. In respect for the other ones, I don't want everybody to get excited and go looking for the other two. Just to keep it all concise. But her name's out there. She allowed it to be in the filings. She clearly states that she's going to keep using it because Danny brought it out there herself because of their relationship. He said at the game that it was just because they were in a relationship. Relationship got bad, so now he's got to diss her. But that's not it. Like this woman, the way she speaks, so calmly and politely. Yes, sir. And I don't recall, and using very distinct, careful language when she can. Okay. She clearly states that she felt that something was wrong and he could use some help, but that she cared for him and that the relationship lasted as long as it did because he brought her into Scientology and she really thought that it could help him. And she was trying to encourage him to do more with them because she noticed how he was treating other people, some angering him, some whatever, you know. And I found that striking. It spoke to her character. It also speaks to why do you stay? Okay. She says that the bad language and all that he used was there before they met, and that she kind of got used to it. And that's why, you know, she didn't really make a big deal out of it. Okay. And then she got into the habit of when he demanded to have his relations, she just did because she felt under the teachings that that's what needed to be. Because again, in the teachings, they do state that it is the reason that it can't be rape because they were in a relationship is that that's her duty whenever he wants. Yep, that's what they said. Yep. There's no yes and no, there's just do. That's basically, in a nutshell, what she was advised. And she carefully said, and this also broke my heart, that she listened. She listened because she had been with Miranda Scoggins as a teacher, as a higher up for 3 years. And she respected her and thought she knew the teachings well enough that she knew what she spoke. So she wasn't going to go to the police. She wasn't going to press charges. She started to believe it wasn't what it was, and that she shouldn't feel the way she felt, and she did something to deserve it. To me, that's the saddest part about this. How when they spoke about it, they were told it was their fault. Something they did. Something they did. And they needed to figure it out. That's horrible. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Boo. Okay, going up for questions, and I'm going backwards here. Could Scientology get in trouble if the case shows that they covered the crimes up? Scientology has their hands full with civil suits right now, just on that issue right there. All three women filed a civil suit as to why they couldn't write a criminal complaint against Danny Masterson. And that is kind of being slowed up right now, but he's still very, very active. It includes all three of the accusers of this trial. So yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty. There's also civil suits in Scientology about people that were in the Sea Org as children, brought in by their family members, and at the youngest age of 9 and 10 were forced to do child labor without benefit of payment. There's a civil suit against that. Then in that one also is harassment about them being harassed to the point that they couldn't file charges or make any complaints because of how the organization was run. There are numerous harassment charges against Scientology on the books. Lots of them. And Tony Ortega's been following them, and quite a few others. And we're going to be picking up on quite a few. We're going to follow the civil case. I've already mentioned it several times in previous streams on these updates. When the Masterson trial came up, I mentioned all of the other cases too. And we're going to be picking up on a couple of those. This one kind of is like hot right now and taking precedent, because I'd like to wrap it up first, before we dive in as detailed with the others. But yeah, they're not actually, their name is everywhere, which is why I think they're pushing so hard to keep their name out of the actual criminal charges. They got enough trouble everywhere else. But hey, they're going to the Supreme Court on all of it too. So like, I don't understand. Like, they don't want the bad reputation. Like, they're just making themselves news everywhere they go. Juju B says they planted those fear mind viruses in everyone. It is a wild how that works. I agree. T King said that sounded like a hush file, and I know you're talking about the things that shouldn't be. Yeah, it is a shame. And Juju B and Ginger, I welcome, Ginger. Nice to see you. I agree. It is an odd organization, to say the least. Juju says, my guess is Scientology doesn't want to claim him. He has never brought them great press. He's been, should we use the word problematic? Yeah. He's been problematic for them all along. Yep. Ox, I'm not sure about the conviction here, but I do believe they were talking about the sentencing being 45 to life because of it. But I'll have to check into that, and I will, because that's a good question there. It only counts as one conviction if it's a group case, I believe. We can look. That's true, Juju. That disturbed me. That's why I'm leaving this picture up. This is the part that really gets to me here. He's looking so calm. Is that because he's actually trying to project innocence, but it actually is projecting to me a little bit of arrogance and a little bit of indifference, especially when they're speaking about what happened to them. Even if you feel you didn't do it, that there was consent, and you just like, you don't believe that line was crossed, that their interpretation of being upset about it might be a little more than what you thought. How could you be indifferent to somebody who feels that way about something you did? That's what gets me. Most of the gentlemen that I speak to, let's just say men, brothers, cousins, my friends, my exes, when they think that you're thinking wrong about something they did, you're thinking wrong about something they did that may have hurt you, the last thing I see on their face is indifference or arrogance. It's more like concern, or sometimes even a little bit of hurt, because how could you think I did that? Like, let's talk. Like, whoa, there's a misunderstanding here, or whoa, I'm sorry you feel like that. I don't see indifference, and I don't think I'm that blessed with just a bubble of people that know better. I think they're average. Okay. Yep. I'm telling you. Yeah, too much. That bothered me, and that's why I'm showing her drawings today, because I do hope their names are hidden just a little bit more. Jasper, I had not heard. What this is a H Jasper E. I have not heard of this case, but I feel I got the gist of it by now. Thank you. They sound worse than conservative Zionist. Yes, stay turtle moves. Nice to see you. Yep. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I've heard worse, actually, in their handling and disregard of what people go through. But I know it's a foundation of their belief, so I kind of know like why they're saying it the way they're saying it. They're trying to say that we have to be. I think that don't. I believe they're inferring that everything, we have to take responsibility for our reactions in the world and how we respond to things and what happens to us, that we are accountable for everything ourselves. Now, this is a core belief that I have myself. I'm not a Scientologist. I do believe that when it comes to our way in the world, we have more control and responsibility than we're willing to admit. I don't like to say, oh, it's because of this, and oh, it's because of that, and oh, this one did that, and this one did that. For me, and I might be the oddball out, but I'm going to stand on it and say, for me, it's always, what could I have done better? Where am I with this? How am I taking care of this? What did I do? Okay, but I'm not going to, I mean, if somebody goes right out and is doing something wrong on me, I'm not going to take responsibility for what they did. I am going to look at it too. Why didn't I see it sooner? What could I have done to prevent it? That I can't control the other person if they're an asshole or, a not nice person. But what could I have done and how can I get a lesson from this and all? I'm always going to take like that me first kind of view looking at it, because that's the only one I can control. That's the only one that's going to benefit from learning from the situation for me. And then I can do better for others. So I understand a little bit of the premise of that, like where they're getting at, but the where they take it, that every bad thing that happens to you is your fault. No, if I got shot and somebody else got by somebody else, that's not, I didn't shoot myself. Somebody shot me. Like, they're taking it too far. And especially in something like this, to blame something like that on the other person, that it can't possibly be. If this happened to you, you need to be audited. You need to figure out why. What did you do wrong in your past? What are you doing wrong to have this cause on you? The process itself is a little bit of violating and negating on how they feel. Totally. Mocking says, honey, I have to cheat. Zeno said that my Thetan used to date the Thetan and this other girl. So you understand, right? I know, exactly. They got a reason for everything, on bad behavior especially. And it all seems a little misogynistic to me. I don't know. But hey, that's just me. All right. Scientology believes that horrible things don't happen to you. You pulled it in. That's right. That's the expression right there, Brody. Thank you very much and welcome. You pulled it in. You did it. Mm-hmm. David Miscavige has been avoiding getting served in a suit for several years. Yes, he has. But they're getting closer. Like, it's getting tight. Like, he's been out and about, and I think they're finally getting close. But he's been running around like crazy, trying not to get served on this suit, as if that's going to stop it, because I do believe they can serve by electronic file. I mean, they just did it to Trump and his son, and when they did it for a year in New York, and finally the judge says, well, you did your due diligence, you should just serve the lawyer's office by email. That's good enough. We're going to call it service. It'll happen to Miscavige too. Mm-hmm. Thank you, always. I do think problematic definitely fits. I don't know if that's the word that they use for him, but I'm going to use that word for sure. Okay. I would read guilt from the body language if I was a juror. Of course, I am basing this fully on those drawings, so take that as it is. True, we don't get to see what's actually on his face. This is her depiction. And remember, when they do these depictions, they're taking several different moments. They're not capturing one moment. They're kind of like loosely portraying a moment among moments. Do you know what I mean? Like, she's saying that this is his demeanor throughout most of it. But I agree. I wouldn't be happy if I saw that as a juror. Yes, people get mad when they're accused incorrectly. Absolutely, I agree, Juju. I would never, like, if I'm accusing someone of doing something on purpose and they're like, I didn't intend to do that, there's usually a little bit of anger and then hurt, and stuff. But I definitely don't see indifference, like, oh, well, I don't know, never. Yeah. Sarb says, Danny's indifferent manner betrays his psychopathy. Now, there's a word I was afraid to use today, but I have to say, it kind of, I could see why you would say it, Sarb. I definitely see why you would say it. And Ginger says, every cult protects their leaders. Well, this, yes, as far as Miscavige, as far as not getting served, absolutely. Well, Annette, I think we're like pretty much wrapped up if you guys don't have any more questions. But if you think of anything later, you know how to reach me. And again, members who still are active in membership, please go to the community tab and vote on the donations for the quarter. Those of you that received the gift memberships that just retired yesterday, You can contact me by DM. I will send you the message. I still want you to vote during that quarter. You were a member during that time, and I want you to participate if you can, if you want. Okay, but contact me. I don't want to spam you all, but definitely, want you to have a voice if you want one, because it's just, I don't want to just randomly choose something. There are three great ones. There are three great charities to choose from. It's like, um, on there. Two more questions. This one's good. Okay, off topic from Juju. Have you heard about the potential serial killer in Iowa? His daughter claims he's been active for years. I think I've heard. If it's the one I'm thinking of, I may have. But if you want to DM me names and want to go back and forth with it, I'm very interested. Because I'm following that one. We followed that one in California. That happened. That kind of resolved pretty quick. We're waiting. He's actually been arraigned already, and they're going to be moving forward on that. I wonder if he's going to plea. They're charging him for 3 out of the 6, and that's the Stockton killer. Okay, and another off topic was, I did not cover the Brooks case, but today the verdict did come in all charges, guilty on all charges, including the extenuating circumstances of using the deadly weapon, being the SUV. All charges. In Monday, there will be a hearing on how long they need actually for the sentencing hearing. They're supposed to, by Monday, have everybody that they want to participate to give statements for the sentencing hearing from the victims and from the defendant side. And the judge did already say that she would allow Zooms. So I would imagine there'll be more people participating than anticipated. So then they'll be scheduling. It's just a scheduling conference on Monday based on what they come forward with, how many people they need. But his bond is rescinded. He's jailed. That's it. I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop, because this guy was a hot mess. If you saw it, we'll just see. I don't see any grounds for appeal except for the fact that I can't believe he defended himself. But they tried to get him to accept counsel, and they even offered him a competency, which he refused. They did everything legally they could to keep him on the straight, but his performance in the courtroom was extraordinary, is all I can say. Like, that's it. Okay. Hey, Uncle Nath. There's replay. It is nice to see you here and to say hi. There's replay, though, if you want to catch up on the trial. Okay. Jujubee says on the Iowa one, his other daughter claims it's bullshit. And I'll send you an article. The FBI is stepping in to search for bodies. Oh, well, if the FBI is stepping in, it can't be total. There must be, maybe total that he did bullshit that he did it, but there's definitely a serial killer. I know. Why would one daughter make the accusation and the other one say no? It does seem odd. For that reason alone, maybe check it out, Jujubee. It does sound very, very interesting. Yep. Always. I knew you'd be on it. We'll talk next week. Okay. He refused everything, Ginger, and so oppositional. I will definitely agree with you on that. And he's never going to see the outside of a jail or a courtroom ever again. Rodin, I kind of agree with you, because I know. Standard for a soft sit. Defend yourself and mess up. I get it, Turtle. It was just a hot mess. So many were having fun covering it. It was actually quite entertaining to watch the other coverage of it without, because it was frustrating for me. I have a great respect for the law as far as what goes on in the courtrooms and how they conduct themselves. And his absolute disregard for it was infuriating for me. Like, it was very difficult for me to watch. Because he has totally no regard for it whatsoever. That always gets me. Yep. When he said, I know, he actually wrote it. He did the opposite. When he says, I was expecting him to say, I nullify this jury. But actually, when the jury left the room, he stood in respect for the first time, quiet, and let them leave the room. And he did the same thing when the judge left for the day. I was stunned. He was quiet. He stood up in respect and let the jury leave the room. Everyone was expecting after they just told him he was guilty of every single charge that was laid out before him. Guilty of all of them. All of them. that he would just like sit and just keep his head down like it was during the reading. But no, he did stand in respect. He looked at them. I was actually surprised, very surprised. On that, I'm going to say goodnight. Everybody do those YouTube things. Like, comment, share if you can. Check out the video that I post. I'm going to post that link one more time. And just in case I made you scratch your heads a little too much or bring you down with the heaviness of this trial, here, go have a giggle. There's a little bit there on Danny Masterson. Although the description won't make you giggle, it is actually spot on everything that's going on. And thank you, Saab. I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you, actually. I'm glad you were here. And thank you for all of you who were here. Thank you for those that'll do replay. Don't forget, like, share, comment. Okay. And I'll be back on Friday. Have a good one.